This is a Film Stories original podcast.
We made this.
Welcome to the X-Cast. The truth is in here. This is minute 93 of Fight the Future Minute. I'm your host, Sarah Blair, and I've got Marlene Stemme guesting with me today, and she's coming from hosting the previous episode. So she's just coming out of the hosting chair, slipping into the guest chair, and then she's going to be back hosting, right, Marlene?
That's correct, Sarah.
Awesome. Welcome back, Marlene.
Thank you.
So we've got this is 1 hour and 32 minutes on the dot. And we start this minute with Mulder walking down. He's climbing down into this mysterious place. And then it ends with 1 hour, 32 minutes and 59 seconds with Mulder looking out over the inside of this grand alien sweeping shot of an alien spaceship. Does that sound about right, Marlene?
That sounds right. I don't know if we know that it's a ship yet, although probably suspect at this point
something.
That it is. Yes.
He's in this alien landscape place. We don't know what he's looking at exactly. Something. Yeah. So, Marlene, this is the first time you're actually coming in Fight the Future Minute as a guest. So, welcome to the hot seat.
Thanks. Thank you.
We have not had the opportunity to ask you about your first viewing experience of Fight the Future, the movie. Please tell me a little bit about that and how it was. How did it go down?
Okay. So I actually saw the movie on opening night. It wasn't one of the night before, premiere eve things, but it was the actual night of the movie opened, which I believe was June 19th of 1998. I was living in Greenville, South Carolina, which is actually where I live now, but I'd lived in other places since then. But it's a very X-File, it's my X-Files home, let's say. So I was going to the theater that night with some of my college friends, and I remember during the day, curtailing my water consumption. I didn't want to eat too much. I wanted to be, just prepared so I could pay attention to the movie. And we all dressed up as though we were going to a premiere and then went to this theater in Greenville, South Carolina. So that was a lot of fun. And I still remember sitting there waiting for the movie to begin. And I kind of remember where I was in the theater, what my vantage point was. I don't know why I have been able to hold on to that for this long, those sorts of memories, but I do. So watched the movie. I don't remember a tremendous amount about my thoughts during the movie at the time. I do remember a few audience reactions and so forth, but I remember when we were walking out at the end, my friend Dusty, who also was so keyed up and excited for the movie, she said, I don't even remember what that was about. She had no recollection of even seeing it because she had been too excited. So we, at that point, developed this structure for viewing X-Files where the first one is just sheer experience, and then you actually know what it's about the second time, and then the third time was for themes, the fourth time was for hair and makeup. So from the movie, I think, is where we got this whole idea of how you're supposed to watch the episodes, going through that sequence. But I thought that was really funny. And then that weekend, I was going back to my home where my parents live for a friend's wedding, and I remember I was staying with my parents. I remember sitting at the dinner table, and my mom was asking me if I'd seen the movie the night before, and asking me what I thought and so forth. And then she got up and went to a drawer and came back and placed a ticket in front of me, and she had gone to see it on opening night so that she could talk to me about it when I came home.
Oh,
so that
my goodness.
Yeah, that was really cool too, because of course she knew that I would want to go on and on about it and so forth. So that was very sweet, I thought. I think I ended up seeing it about 4 times in the theater, and then with various groups of friends. And then there was one time I went to see another movie, and I was like, it's playing right in the other cinema. And so I got up from the movie I was seeing, which was The Truman Show. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but The Truman Show. And I went into the X-Files theater and watched the rescue sequence, and then came back and watched the rest of my movie. So that was my my movie viewing shenanigans. Yeah, so I remember it well. I remember like the event of it.
Okay, I have a couple of things I want to revisit there. You said, first thing that jumped out at me, you said that you all dressed up like you were going to a premiere. Can you please elaborate on that? What were you wearing? What was your attire?
I bought a long black dress. I can kind of still see it too, which is insane since this is 22 years later. These
are the important details.
I know, but it was a long black dress. It wasn't like super, super formal or anything like that, but it's like I don't usually dress up to go to the theater, to the movie theater. So I had like a long black dress, and probably like it was, the heat of summer in the South. So I probably had on like black sandals or something like that. That's mainly what I remember. And the guys that were with us were wearing like suits and ties. The other women were dressed up. So
nice.
It was just that kind of
Was there
thing.
fancy hair, fancy makeup, like extra makeup? Did you go all out or?
I think we all looked good. I don't remember going like super, super all out, like updos on the hair, that type of thing. But we put ourselves together well. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a great memory. And then
your
mom watched it. I got to see it in the theater with my mom.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. It was fun. So, but at midnight, I did go to the midnight show. There was a whole thing. Yeah. But it was fun. It was really fun. So that's cool.
I remember even, I mentioned that I had gone to like that weekend, gone home for a friend's wedding, and the groom even asked me like at the reception, he's like, did you see the X-Files movie? And I was like, well, yeah, but this is your event, like we don't have to talk about it right now.
Did you wear the same dress to the wedding?
I did not.
No. So you specifically went out and bought a dress just for the premiere?
Yes.
That's awesome. I approve.
Thank you.
Of your life choices.
That's fun.
Not that you need my approval.
That's okay. I appreciate it. It's good to be with like minds. So.
Yeah, I kind of regret that I didn't think of doing something like that myself, but it's all good. Marlene, how would you rate the Fight the Future film, since we haven't discussed this yet? What would you give it out of 10 stars?
Okay, well, I had to really think about this because I do get excited about it, and I get excited remembering this first viewing and so forth. However, I don't have, like, they're not qualms, but they're just things about it that I don't think are necessarily ideal. So the movie overall, probably like a 7.5 is what I would say. This whole sequence that we're talking about, and that entire rescue sequence from the point that Mulder gets in the snowcat and go in Antarctica all the way through the part on the crater, I would give like a higher rating because I just enjoy it more. I think it's a more authentic part. But the movie overall, I would give a 7.5. There are parts of it that I think are kind of X-Files shoehorned into sort of like a formula action movie. And that when I watched the movie, that's kind of like, it's on my mind. Or the way that Mulder and Scully talk to each other. I'm like, this isn't quite, like, it's like they're just introducing themselves over and over rather than being themselves. And I don't think it's David and Gillian. I just think that that's the way that that was written for introduction to a general audience. It kind of seems, some of it seems a little clunky in that regard. But then, like, the sheer experience I love, and then this section that we're doing I love. So that's my overall statement of my rating.
Nice. Yeah. And I mean, there are some bits that I agree are a little bit cinematic as opposed to just X-Files. But I appreciate that because, I mean, it is what it is. It's up on the big screen, and you know, you gotta go big or go home, right?
Yeah, and they did.
So yeah, and I do also agree that this section feels much more X-Files-y. You know, especially like harkening back to, you know, second season and all of that. And was it Endgame with the ice and
Yes, the conning tower.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's true. It's a good connection.
So it's not the first time we've been in the snow here on the X-Files, is it?
And it's very subterranean, which I always enjoy. So.
Plenty of subterranean scenes in the X-Files.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got Firewalker, Teso dos Pichos. We just watched in the quarantine rewatch.
Even things like Aubrey, like season 2, when you mentioned, they're subterranean in the sense that there's a lot of things being unearthed. They're coming from underground, which is kind of what's going on in this part of the movie too. So
yes,
I rather love that.
Yes, absolutely. Not a whole lot happens in this minute on screen. We've got Mulder climbing through a tunnel, and
Correct.
literally that's what happens. He climbs down and he enters this enormous space, cavernous space, and sees a lot of stuff that we're not really sure what it is yet, but we're guessing from context that it's probably some kind of alien ship.
Yeah, I guess it starts, he's looking into this like chasm with steam all around it. And then he goes into a corridor and walks into this open area and sees like, I guess it's like an articulated structure with conveyor belts. I'm not sure what that's, exactly what that's supposed to be. But yeah, it's just the kind of overwhelming scope of it. And you get the idea of like, how is he going to find Scully in the midst of all of this? But I think it's just him looking around for a minute, basically.
Yes. And I love the music at this part. Between this minute and the next minute, these minutes kind of overlap a little bit. But just the sweeping, cinematic, orchestrated Mark Snow score here is just, it's really cool. I like it a lot.
I was going to say, I think it sort of expands as Mulder is looking around, which really gives it a good effect.
Yeah. And it kind of captures the huge feeling of the space, like with the big music, and it's like, ooh, you feel almost... it kind of like scoops your insides out and makes you feel hollowed. You know that feeling like when you're standing at the edge of like like a big cliff or something, and you see like a huge thing, and you kind of feel almost like that weird tingly like hollowness inside, and you're just it really captures that well, I think. It's very evocative. Were there any particular notes that you found in your X-Files production book?
Yeah, so I have the book on the making of Fight the Future that came out sort of as a companion piece, I guess, with the movie. It came out that same, at that same time. So from that, and then also from some of the commentary on the movie, Chris Carter and Frank Spotnitz are talking about, a lot of either what they did or how they built things and so forth. So Chris Carter said that, they're talking about how they're moving. Basically, when Mulder falls through the ice, which happened a couple minutes ago, they're moving into a refrigerated soundstage. And so this minute that we're working on has all of the, and really this whole section has all of the sort of like that smoky look, of the, like the steam going down into the chasm, I guess, or into the cavern. He said it's actually cold smoke, and that falls instead of rises or hovering like regular smoke. So he doesn't describe how what cold smoke is, but I thought that was really interesting too. So it made it go downward into all of the, through the ship, having this cold smoke. And so they had this kind of vacuum effect by having cold smoke that kind of sucked all of the smoke down as Mulder's moving down. And then he said what they were going for was something that was kind of made by the hand of man as opposed to by the hand of nature. So Mulder had come off the surface of the ice, which was very natural, and then down into this obviously human constructed or whatever man-made environment, which I like the contrast of that. And I think as Mulder's seeing more and more of that, it becomes more and more obvious what an operation he has going on. So
that's really fascinating. That I wonder if it was maybe like dry ice that they used instead of like steam or something. Yeah. I wonder if that's what he means by cold smoke, because that's interesting.
It's a combination of things, I think. I'm not sure exactly. and this is kind of at the, a little bit toward the end of the minute, but he said that once you're inside the ship, the idea was to show how old the ship was and how long they'd been encasing human beings, and that it went all the way back through the Neanderthal period. So, and that comes up like when we get closer in, upcoming minutes. But I thought that was interesting too. And you can sort of see that in the conveyor system, that it doesn't look like it was something that was brand new. And I think that's what he was saying, was that was the idea, is to suggest that this has been going on for a really long time.
That's something that never occurred to me before, and I think is really interesting, because if they've been there for 35,000 years collecting people, why? Why would you wait that long? Would they not make multiple trips? Like, I don't know. It's interesting. I think it's just this, like, it's supposed to be this ancient, operation that's going on. And then he talks about establishing the idea from the pods that are hanging in the tube, that there are many, many of these pods. So it's just this, ongoing thing. And he talks about Mulder stepping out of the balcony area and seeing this massive scale of the interior. And pods, he said pods hanging from what looked like a laundromat conveyor belt system, moving things along. It said David was walking on a really tiny set, but they make it look like he's looking out across this big expanse. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I like that. Yeah, I guess they probably use green screen, right?
I think it was a composite, like a green screen, and then like the shots that they had filmed from the soundstage and so forth put together.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think that about does it for this minute, but we will be back with minute 94. And Marlene, you're coming back with us, right?
I am.
Be back. Awesome. So let's end there, and then we'll be back tomorrow with more of Mulder in this mysterious cavernous space. And we're going to find out what happens to Mulder. Until next time, trust no one.
Elsewhere on We Made This. Life's milestones.
Whenever it was that there was that census where there was the campaign to try and get everybody to say that their religion was Jedi.
Oh, I remember it well. I think I did put Jedi, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I was adamant that I really wanted to put that down, because it aligns a lot more with my beliefs than anything else. Star Wars has always been there for me. But yeah, that's when my mum was saying, no, we had you christened, and I ended up losing that one. And then when I lived on my own for a later census, I just, by that point, just put non-religious.
I'm in a band podcast.
Flaming Lips did a gig and they were all in bubbles. So the whole band, them big bubbles you get that you can play football in? The whole band were in them, and all the people in the crowd were in one of them.
I'd go to the gig with a pin and fucking ruin everyone's evening.
You need a big pin.
Then you have to get out of your bubble first with your pin. They're going to see you.
You have a bubble with a pin on it. Or you're like a sea urchin, just going around causing chaos.
Hey, rolling around.
Could you have a fag enough?
I suppose you could get your own bubble, innit?
Frame to frame.
So, Sean, have you got anything further you wanted to say on the two films that we've looked at this week?
I think they're both overlooked gems, and anyone who hasn't seen them needs to go and check them out pronto. Enough said.
I agree with you. We could have also called the theme for this week Nerdy White Guy Tries to Find Love.
But are you having a go at me there?
No, I'm just saying...
Because I bore my heart when talking about the way back. I thought you were having a pop at me there.
No, absolutely not. I'm just saying that that's what we could have called the theme for this week.
I mean, we could have done. It could have been like, podcaster recalls painful memory of riding bike in front of girl.
Check out all of these shows and more on the We Made This podcast network.